Hello, and welcome to this short introduction to the MPC Smart Sales process tailored for personal bankers and relationship managers. Today we will cover the MPC Smart 6-step sales process and deep dive into some of those components more thoroughly. This module was developed for both formal organizational curriculum as well as individual development training. For more information regarding this and other MPC Smart solutions for better business, please visit us at mpcsmart.com. So let's get started with today's discussion. The MPC Smart Sales process is a 6-step process with the following components: greeting, building rapport, acquiring information, recommending solutions, implementing agreed upon solutions, and follow-up and feedback. Greeting your client is the first step in creating a memorable client excellence experience and one of the most crucial in establishing a long-term relationship. Everyone has heard the expression, you only have one time to create a first impression. This is very true because the things that people subconsciously determine when meeting someone for the first time are, can I trust this person and can I respect this person? Your greeting should be warm and welcoming. It should speak to your client yes to both of these questions. How does anyone create an impression of trust and respect? Genuinely showing through nonverbal and verbal communication that you're sincerely interested in helping that individual to find solutions to best benefit their needs. Never forget that the client with which you are extending your handshake to as you maintain eye contact and smile is a person just like any of us. They most likely value their family and loved ones just as you do. They likely have difficulties and issues that they are dealing with in their lives just as you do. They may have a relative or a friend with health issues. They may have personal issues that they're dealing with in their lives, whether it be with family members or themselves. Things that touch all of our lives. Health concerns, mental or physical, children who are having trouble at school, maybe due to a learning or behavioral issue, perhaps a marriage or personal relationship that is going through a difficult period. Regardless of what that person is going through, the important thing to remember is that the client in front of you is another human being just like yourself. And the best way to establish a meaningful and memorable experience with your client and start a lasting relationship is through the things that resonate most with us as human beings: compassion and empathy, how you make them feel. Always try to keep that in the forefront of your mind, that the person you're serving is just like you, has the same emotions, desires, and fears that we all have as human beings. When you start with that in mind, it will be much easier to create a meaningful relationship that's built on the foundation of trust and respect. When you greet your client, you should offer to shake their hand while maintaining eye contact and smiling. Aren't you happy you have an opportunity to help someone who needs your expertise? They're standing in front of you with a need for a solution to their life and are allowing you to do your best to help them to find it. Should that be important to you? Do you want to help people make their lives easier and more manageable? Do you appreciate it when others do that for you? Most likely your answer is yes. Introduce yourself to your client and ask their name, but make sure you remember it because that shows that you really care. Some people have trouble remembering names, so try and see if you can use a memory retention trick of associating that individual with someone else that you know. For example, their name may be John, and that is the name of your brother-in-law, and the client in front of you is wearing glasses, as does your brother-in-law. This will help you remember your client's name, as our brains are wired to recognize similarities and associate new things with the things that we already know. If your client has an unusual or difficult name to remember, try to think of something that is similar that will help you. As human beings, it's important for us to feel valued, and nothing says I value you as remembering someone's name. The opposite is also true. Nothing speaks to us that we are not as important as when someone calls us by the wrong name or forgets our name entirely. That's not to say that it's easy, so sometimes it helps when you sit down to simply ask, may I ask how to spell your name, and writing it down. But try your best to remember so that you do not repeatedly look down at the name you've written. Non-verbally, it communicates, you're not as important to me as perhaps you should be. After you've greeted and sat down with your client, you want to build a rapport with your client. Remember, your objective is to learn as much about this client as you can in a short amount of time, so that you can recommend solutions that will best meet their personal needs and objectives. The only way to do that is for them to tell you everything they can about themselves, and that requires that your client feels comfortable enough to share with you about themselves. What better way to get them to share with you as to create a meaningful connection on a basic human level? Family and loved ones, passions and the things that they enjoy, things that make them happy. That allows a bonding between you and your client that will establish a foundation of trust and respect. As soon as you sit down, let your client know that you'll be taking some notes so that you don't miss anything that is important to them. A good way to do this is to say, John, I have a terrible memory, so if it's okay with you, I'd like to take some notes today to make sure that I don't miss anything that's important to you. Will that be all right? Almost always your client will tell you yes. They came in to see you for a solution to their needs. How would they not want you to do whatever it takes for you to make sure you don't miss anything that's important to them? After getting your client's permission to take notes, start with saying a little something about yourself so that they'll be more open to sharing about themselves with you. It may sound like this. John, thank you so much for coming in today. And before we begin to address the reasons that you came in, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Paul. I'm married with 2 children. My son Thomas is 10 and very much determined to become a professional soccer player one day. My daughter Alice is 8 and loves ballet. My wife of 12 years, Janet, is a registered nurse here at Mount Zion in the city. We have a border collie named Max and a 12-year-old cat named Whiskers. We like to go hiking on weekends, and we're looking forward to our family vacation in Ocean City next month. I've been here at ABC Bank for 5 years, and I've been in the banking industry for 8. My favorite thing about working here is the people I get to see every day, which gives me a great deal of personal satisfaction, as you can likely imagine. But please, tell me a little bit about yourself. As you go through your brief description of yourself, you're establishing a number of things with your client. First, you're a human, just like they are. And as you tell them about your family and pets and your children's interests and family plans, they're most likely creating their own associations with you personally about their own lives and loved ones. They're thinking about their own family and interests, and as soon as you end your quick introduction about yourself and ask them to tell you about themselves, you're creating an opportunity for them to start sharing with you what is most important to them. That way, you'll be able to come back to these things later in your conversation as you recognize opportunities for products and services that will benefit their personal situation. Secondly, your openness and forthcomingness gives them an unspoken permission to tell you about themselves without fear of judgment, and says to your client, I'm interested in what is most important to you, which, by the way, is almost always family and loved ones. And lastly, the thing that people like to talk about most is themselves. The more your client speaks, the more you will learn from them about their unspoken and possibly even unknown needs. Your client will most likely follow the same format, telling you about their own family, pets, work, hobbies, and all of these things that are opening the door to opportunities for you to find solutions to their needs, whether known or unknown. Your client may tell you something along the lines of, well, Paul, thank you for sharing with me about yourself. I also have 2 children, a daughter who's 14 and going through the teenage years, and a son who is also 8 like your daughter, but he's more interested in video games than anything else, and we have to limit his screen time because if it was up to him, he'd be on the Xbox all day. I work at XYZ, and I'm actually coming up on a year at XYZ, although I've been in the industry for 15 years, doing pretty much the same thing previously at another organization for 8 years. It's actually funny your family's going to Ocean City next month because we have our family vacation planned in 6 weeks, and we're also going to Ocean City. Let's stop for a moment and take a progress check. What possible opportunities does John reveal in his short introduction? If you've considered college planning, 401k rollover from a previous employer, perhaps a secure transaction account for his son's video gaming and phone, possibly an account for his daughter to start learning fiscal responsibility, or any other items, these are a good start. In your rapport building stage, you're connecting with your client on a very basic human emotional level. Look at the similarities that we share. We're not really different from each other. We have similar values, we enjoy the same things, family, our children, Ocean City vacations. We can work together because if we have similarities on this basic level, we probably share similar needs. And since you're the expert, you can help meet the unspoken needs that most of us have financially in banking, lending, and investing. You've only been sitting with your client for 5 minutes, and already they're feeling comfortable enough with you to open up. As you begin to listen to your client speak about themselves, be attentive and open, smiling and nodding to encourage them to tell you as much about themselves as they're willing to share. You may, in this example, ask about what they like to do on their family vacations. Perhaps they visit the same places that you do, or perhaps they enjoy doing similar things that you do as well. You may uncover that they own a vacation home at the beach, potential lending opportunity, or any other number of things that will allow you to potentially uncover unspoken needs of which you may be able to offer solutions which will benefit your client. After getting to know each other a little better, you can move into the next stage of your sales process. Why has your client come in today and decided to sit down with you? Perhaps it's only to open a checking account, but almost always they will have other needs with which you or your segment partners from other departments can likely benefit your client. What expectations does your client have for today's visit? What needs are they looking to fulfill? What features do they like? And more importantly, how do they perceive the benefits of those features in their lives? Even more important, however, is the value that you personally will bring to the relationship. There's an old saying that people do not buy the product or service. They buy the person. This is very true because remember, all banks offer checking accounts, but how you personally make the difference is in your ability to differentiate their experience from other institutions. You were likely put in your position after candidates were screened and assessed to determine who will have the most positive impact as the face of your organization. And this is no small accomplishment in and of itself. So feel a sense of pride in yourself that you were personally selected for who you are to represent your organization. What's the best way to know what your client's expectations are for today's visit? How can you best determine your course of action and make sure that you not only meet those expectations, but more importantly, exceed them? Well, the easiest way is to simply ask. John, thank you so much for sharing a little about yourself with me today. I feel that this is the start of a valued relationship, and I will do my best to make sure that I meet your expectations for your visit today. So if I may ask you, what brought you in today, and what expectations do you have for your visit? Amazing. Who would think to ask the client what their expectations are? More importantly, once you know what their expectations are, you're at a much better position to exceed those expectations. John may state he just came in to open a checking account. He expects to get his paperwork done and be on his way. No problem. John, I can absolutely help you with a new checking account today. And during the account opening process, I'll ask you some questions about your financial needs and how you like to use your account and the services that you prefer. This allows me to recommend the most appropriate services for your needs, which will benefit you the most. May I ask if you're under any time constraints today, as the process will take about 30 to 45 minutes, and I wouldn't want to rush through and neglect to provide you with crucial information, thus doing you a great disservice. No problem, I have plenty of time. Sounds great. Let me briefly explain the process with which we will follow today, and of course at any time, should you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me and let me know. Does that sound okay? Almost always your client will say fine. At this point, explain your process. Explain that you're going to ask questions about how your client likes to use their account, as well as any issues that your client may have had in the past, so you can make sure that those issues are not repeated to the best of your ability. Follow a format similar to the following. 1. I'll ask you some questions to get a better understanding of your needs and the services you like to use with your accounts. 2. After I have an understanding of the types of features you prefer, I'll recommend the appropriate solutions that best benefit your needs. 3. We will then complete any necessary documentation. And 4. I'll inform you of what you can expect over the next few days to a week, as well as set up a follow-up appointment to check in and make sure that you're completely satisfied. Now that your client has a firm understanding of what to expect in the next 30 to 45 minutes that they'll spend with you, it'll allow you to take your time as you explore possible needs that your client may have and make appropriate recommendations in the next stage of your process. While gathering information, you want to use a funneling technique that initially focuses on asking broader and more generalized questions at first and narrows down to more specific questions to get to the core of what will most benefit your client. As your client begins to tell you about their current situation, you'll focus on gathering information using a format MPC Smart refers to as IPAL: income, payments, assets, and liabilities. This will provide the framework that you need to make sure that the recommendations that you make today and in the future are not only appropriate but perceived with value by your client to best benefit their needs. As you ask your questions following the funneling format, you want to find out the following. What sort of accounts do they maintain and what balances do they keep? Into checking, savings, CDs, IRAs, investments. How and what do they receive money in and out for? Direct deposit, investment transfers, ACH transfers, check writing, online bill payments, direct debits, debit cards, automatic bill payments, insurance premiums for auto, health, life, or disability, IRA contributions and distributions, including inheritance IRAs. Do they own or rent? And how much are those payments and how are they made? Do they use credit cards for points? And how do they like to manage those cards and those balances? After acquiring as thorough an understanding of your client's financial wants and needs as possible from the information acquisition stage, you're ready to proceed with recommending the appropriate solutions to the client. You can transition to the recommended solutions stage smoothly by saying something similar to, John, thank you so much for sharing with me the things that are important to you and the benefits with which you like to have available to you. At this point, I believe I have enough information to recommend the solutions that we have available here for you at ABC Bank, so that unless you have any questions for me, we can proceed to discuss those solutions. As you recommend the appropriate product and service offerings that are most suitable for your clients' wants and needs, always follow a feature and benefit approach. For example, John may like to have direct deposit from his employer and have his mortgage auto-deducted from his account. He may also like to write an occasional check and utilize bill pay as well as online and app services. When presenting your recommended solutions, highlight these features and the benefits as they apply to your client. It may sound similar to, John, as I listen to you explain the way in which you like to use your accounts and the balances that you maintain, our Diamond package has all of the features with which you feel comfortable using. Regarding direct deposit, I will provide you with all the necessary documents to provide your employer to immediately initiate your direct deposit to your account. This will make it easy for you to streamline the transition with little effort on your part, making it convenient and hassle-free. Also, the Diamond package allows for check writing as well as online bill payment that provides you the peace of mind to know that you have this additional flexibility to arrange your payments as you see fit how to make them. You can also set up the auto deduction for your mortgage with the routing and account information that I'll provide for you today. And I'm also able to help should you encounter any difficulty or frustration with the process. I'll also help you create your online access as well as set up our app on your mobile device so you can walk out today with full access to your accounts through whichever channel you prefer, and everything is ready to go without any additional effort on your part. Fast, reliable, and convenient. Do you have any questions for me at this point? Your client may have questions. He may have questions regarding additional fees, ordering checks, foreign transaction fees, security against identity theft and unauthorized transactions on their accounts. Address these concerns using your feature and benefit format so that they feel comfortable. Now is the point at which you will follow your organization's process for opening the client account in the implementation solution stage. Most likely you'll need identification from your client as well as addresses and phone numbers. Generate your client's new account number and assist them with creating their online access as well as downloading the app on their mobile device and making sure that everything is working properly. Perhaps even bring them to the ATM and have them set their preferences so that when they need to access the ATM, they're not encountering any difficulty the first time. Make sure that they're comfortable with everything so that they're setting up so that they're 100% ready to go before they leave. Ask if they have any questions or concerns and alleviate any confusion to their satisfaction with check-in statements such as, does that answer your question, or what other concerns do you have? The implementation part of the process can take time and difficulties can arise such as slow internet or website issues. Depending on your institution, your client may not be able to set up online access for 24 hours or the following business day. Anticipate possible issues and communicate to your client so that they have all the information they need to make an informed decision as to how they wish to proceed. Hopefully the implementation process goes smoothly without any serious technical difficulty so you can have a fast, reliable, and streamlined implementation process. Before your client leaves, after all is to their satisfaction, set up your follow-up appointment that allows you to check in with your client and assure that everything is working at the very least to meet their expectations. Preferably set up a face-to-face appointment because ultimately the more time spent with your client face-to-face, the more solid a foundation of trust and respect in you which will build with your relationship. If that is impossible, then at the very least set up a phone call to check in and ensure your client's satisfaction and answer any question or concerns that they may have. And the follow-up and feedback is often the most overlooked and arguably the most important phase of this sales process. This is where the relationship that you spent so much time establishing while your client was physically with you, by differentiating yourself and creating the value gap that puts you at the top of your peer group with respect to client service excellence delivery, that fostering and developing a relationship you started almost all the time gets ignored or half-hearted attempts to execute. You've spent all of this time getting to know your client, understanding their needs, learning and sharing about their family and passions, hobbies, and future financial desires. You connected sharing about your family vacations in Ocean City, your respective children's extracurricular activities, pets, new jobs, maybe even connected to the point where your client opened up about problems or issues that they're facing in their lives. You've invested time, effort, and energy to build a rapport that set the foundation for a meaningful client relationship and showed you genuinely and sincerely cared for your client. However, almost always after the first visit, your client is never interacted with again or until they next come to the branch or reach out to you with a problem or concern. Why spend so much time and effort to get the sale but ignore the relationship? Do you think that once the account is open, the journey is over? Is it possible that you uncovered all the opportunities with your client in that one 45-minute account opening process? Do you believe that the personal connection that you made with your client doesn't have enough value for you to build upon? Do you believe that the client hasn't had a banking relationship in the past? Do you presume your client hasn't had a great account opening experience with warm and sincere individuals that helped and provided exceptional client service excellence? Most likely they have. But what they also most likely have experienced is a lack of follow-up and fostering of the relationship that so much effort was put into establishing, only to be ignored and discarded. It's not because people don't care or don't want to foster client relationships. In fact, most of the time, it's the lack of attention to the importance of this phase of the sales process due to organizational priorities. Most likely, as a personal banker or relationship manager, you have a number of objectives to meet. For example, open so many accounts, get so many applications. You may have to generate so many referrals to segment partners within your organization. You may also be evaluated for client service excellence. Your organization may also have a client relationship management system in place to monitor calls after client account opening. Your manager may come by and say, please address your client calls. They need to be dispositioned by the end of the day. And you may indeed make a call and leave a voicemail, after which you do disposition your CRM system. But ultimately, we all know relationships aren't about activities or dispositioning drop-downs in your CRM system. They're about connections and feelings. They're about people. And one thing that happens to everyone, no matter who they are, is that circumstances and situations change. If you don't have a regimented and systematic approach to follow-up and feedback for your clients, you're doing your client and yourself a tremendous disservice. Presume 2 months after John came into your office, you may call him again. After checking in with his satisfaction, he mentions to you he's just promoted and will be transferring out of state. He's going to be buying a new home, as well as getting his existing home on the market. He's going to need a mortgage. He also wants to get his previous employer's 401k rolled over before he gets swamped in the transition, per your previous discussions the last few times. And is it possible to meet with those segment partners as soon as possible? Also, his father has just passed after a long time battling a health issue, and he anticipates some inheritance as well as wanting to update his own will. And now that his father's estate is going through probate, he heard something about setting up a trust. Is that something you can help with? These are the reasons that a follow-up process is so critical and necessary to have in place and execute diligently without fail. If you're not in constant contact with your client per a disciplined process, you'll not only fail to be available to deepen your client relationships, but you fail to be the one for your client to rely upon for their unexpected needs when life happens. If you truly want to help people professionally, your clients have to know that you're there and capable of assisting. They won't remember the person who opened their checking account 2 months ago with a level of client service excellence that surpassed all of their previous experiences if you haven't bothered to follow up and have conversations with them about all of the benefits of having you as their own personal financial specialist opens the door for them to take advantage of. That level of disciplined follow-up separates the exceptional performers from the mediocre, no matter what industry you're in. Additional reasons for follow-up include feedback and referrals. When you contact your client, you want to gather feedback regarding their experience with yourself as well as with other channels through which they interact with your organization. A well thought out feedback process is critical for developing your own skills, as well as providing insight as to the areas you or your organization may be falling short of the value proposition that you want to consistently deliver to your clients. Your feedback process should allow you to uncover personal development opportunities, as well as allow you to explore where knowledge gaps exist, or perhaps client excellent service is not as deliverable as you would wish. Lastly, for our discussion is the referral component, an often overlooked and tremendously underutilized opportunity for growing your business as well as your personal brand. You spend 3 to 5 interactions with your client and possibly hours of time. You foster the type of relationship where you're on a first name basis with your client. You know when your client's child's next sports competition is and that the dog was in the vet 2 weeks ago, but back home and doing well. You know your client's family vacation, job promotion, etc. Your client relationship has a solid foundation of you delivering a value proposition above and beyond what your client originally expected. And you've delivered client service excellence well beyond their expectations time and time again. Your client loves you and appreciates all of your help and guidance over these last few interactions and all of the support you and your segment partners have provided. Your client can't thank you enough. Wow, I just don't know what I would have done without you. You've developed the personal brand ambassador, and now you have the opportunity to generate referral business from your client. Creating a process for asking for referral business is the last piece of the sales process and can allow you to build a self-sustaining business model that delivers results for you moving forward that no amount of marketing or media following can do. Now is the time to create your process to generate referral business. Thank you for joining us for this brief overview, and we hope that you've enjoyed this introductory module to the sales process from MPC Smart. We hope that perhaps you've learned something new or maybe were reminded of something that you've forgotten. We look forward to your feedback and welcome any questions or comments that you may have regarding this module. To learn more about this and other smart solutions for better business results, including more in-depth discussions around the feedback and referral components of the MPC sales process, please visit our website at mpcsmart.com.